Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Groundhog Day, the movie. No, I'm take that back. Welcome to another edition of New York Giants football talk. Another losing effort by the New York Giants, but this one was ru- uh, way 948 way to lose. The Giants found a way against Dallas. Uh, that being said, I'm here with my good friend Paul Rosen, my brother from another. Uh, Paul, how you doing, my friend? Day after, we've had some time to think about it. We got burning questions part two coming up, but how you doing otherwise, my friend?
I'm doing well. A lot of things going on in my life, but we're here to talk about the New York Football Giants a day after a game. Dallas almost handed them and then took it away, and then handed it to them and took it away. And ultimately, the Giants wound up losing, and now they're 0-2 again for seems like the 25th time in the last 10 years. In any event, like you said, we're going to get into some burning questions regarding the game, and hey, let's start.
Yep. Let's get a couple of hellos in. Our good friend, everybody's friend, Michael Ronquillo, big Bronco
Hey,
fan.
Michael.
We had a tough one yesterday too, but he's still supporting our Giant show, Paul, with the blue and white hearts. Michael,
Yep.
welcome. And same thing with Ernie Mays, another fellow Bronco fan. Uh, he's saying hello, Kenny K and others. And no, Ernie, Russ didn't lose the game for us. Our
No.
defensive coordinator lost the game for us, but we're going to get into that in a second. We got one of our fellow Giant friends and friends and family. We call them family. We're Giants family. Big good friend of mine. He's supposed to be joining us tonight, so I do have some burning questions throughout the game yesterday, Paul. I know you missed some of it
Hmm.
you missed the early part of the game, so I'm gonna maybe fast forward a little bit and just save some questions for when our guest comes in, and but the first burning question, we'll get right into it, Paul. I want to talk about Russell Wilson. Stat wise, second best performance yardage wise in his 14-year career. 450 yards, three touchdowns, an unfortunate interception late in overtime. But when you score 37 points and your quarterback is playing the way he did, you should not. That should be a W in the win column. So I don't care. Russell Wilson threw one interception in overtime. I don't care. Russell Wilson still has an A plus for me in the game. But my burning question to you, Paul, I got a couple. So the first one I'm gonna give you, Jackson Dart played three snaps. Raw RPOs on all three plays. They went to the well too many times on the third time, and he slipped and fell. So he went to the well one too many times, but he did get some playing time. When do we see Jackson Dart full time? We're 0-2. We're going up against the Chiefs on Sunday night. Off of Russell Wilson's performance, when do you think we see Jackson Dart?
Kenny, we've had this discussion, and this was even before yesterday's game. If Russell Wilson continues to perform at the level that he did, I don't expect him to throw for 450 yards every single game. But if he manages the offense and we can score 37 points, and probably we should have had more given the bogging down in the red zone as usual, he's my quarterback. I'm going to continue to play him. Maybe I'll interject Jackson Dart like we did yesterday. We started to do a little bit more here and there, depending on the situation. But I'm sticking with Russell Wilson as my quarterback moving forward.
I'm with you. I'm with you. What I seen of Russ, we lost the game, but I was excited watching that game yesterday and just watching them air it out. And we got some friends that are Bronco fans, and they lost. Kurt is one of our co-hosts on K and K. They lost to Daniel Jones, and it was the same old Daniel Jones though, Paul. Nickel and dime, check downs. Russ is going to take chances, and that's what I loved yesterday, seeing that because we have an elite wide receiver in Malik Neighbors, used him properly, and we saw a coming out party for Wandale Robinson. So until further down the line, let Jackson Dart continue to come in a few plays. I like that, and continue this style of offense, and maybe we can win a couple games down the road. Our good friend Graham's coming in.
Hey,
He's
Graham.
on Wednesday nights. He's saying Russell Wilson was named an air and ground nominee this week, and he's saying that was
Well
such
deserved.
for the Giants. Should not have gotten to that point, and well, great points there.
Yep.
We got a bunch of I got a bunch of burning questions lined up throughout the show, and anybody who has any questions, please ask along the way. But I'm going to go a different route. We're going to stay with the quarterbacks here, Paul. Cincinnati Bengals lost their franchise guy and arguably the best quarterback in football, Joe Burrow. Some may say he is the best. He's going to be out for 3 months. You do the math, possibly back in December. We could be looking at a season-ending injury. So my burning question to you, Jackson Dart ready to come back, it looks like. Ready to, gaining momentum on coming in. Jameis Winston and or Russell Wilson. Would you trade any of those two quarterbacks to the Cincinnati Bengals if they made a call to Joe Schoen?
I'm not trading either one of them. Certainly not trading Russell Wilson at this point. As I just said, he's going to be my starting quarterback. He's 36 years old, and the idea that if he gets injured, which, let's face it, old guys get injured, present company included, I'm not going to have a rookie quarterback who basically hasn't taken a snap start playing at this point, especially with that offensive line. And we'll get into that in a little bit. I'm not going to trade Jameis Winston. I think ultimately he's going to be a great backup quarterback for Jackson Dart. Very good insurance. Not maybe this year, but moving forward next year when we know Jackson Dart will be the starting quarterback. So at this point, I mean, unless Cincinnati's giving me a number one pick, which obviously they're not, I'm not going to trade Jameis to the Bengals.
Well said. Well said. I was on the fence with it, Paul, but you sold me with the Winston being the backup next year. Now, come trade deadline, if the Giants are looking at 1 or 2 wins and 6 losses, and you want to move on you want to get Jackson Dart in now, and the Bengals are struggling, but they're still in contention with Browning as their quarterback, as Graham alluded.
Yeah.
Maybe a trade deadline move, if you can get a good, now I'm not giving it away for nothing, but if you can get a good 3rd, 4th round pick for Russell Wilson, maybe I'm thinking about it. At that point in the season, he's on a 1-year contract, Russell Wilson. If we're not going anywhere and we're looking at 7, 8 games in with 1 or 2 wins, maybe it's time. Bring in Jackson Dart, and maybe if the offer's, a good offer, I'm thinking about it.
It's possible. I mean, I will say this: Browning's been there. He's subbed for Joe Burrow in the past. He's played pretty well actually for the Bengals in the last few years as their backup quarterback. Knows their system certainly. So it would be difficult for Jameis to come in and move ahead of him, but I'm not sure who their backup quarterback is, in all honesty. So maybe a guy like Jameis Winston could be a good backup if, in fact, say Browning did get injured. But we'll see at the trade deadline, though.
Yeah, we still got long season ahead of us. We'll see how the Giants bounce back off of this. I want to answer Michael. I'm going to let you answer Michael's question, and then Mark, our guest, is backstage, so I'll bring him in for the next question.
Okay.
Michael wants to know, Paul, did Malik Neighbors celebrate too early on his touchdown versus the Cowboys?
Obviously, that happened. I think we were all celebrating. As I said to you after the game, My wife and I were screaming when he caught that touchdown with 25 seconds left, and I said, I told everybody, I told Kenny, I'm surprised you didn't hear us in Maryland. But obviously, we were all celebrating, and obviously, it was too soon, unfortunately.
Yeah, yeah. So I don't have a problem with the celebration he did. A little sleep in, I celebrated too. It's a lesson learned. Maybe you don't do that next time because it's never over till it's over, and we're gonna get
Yep.
into
Thanks,
why
Yogi.
it wasn't over till it's over in a minute. But that being said, oh, I think we lost him. So Mark, if you're out there listening, come back in and I'll get you in. So, all right, we'll do our next. Graham's saying, I'll tell you who's in the doghouse, the Broncos defense. Yeah, well, for those who don't know, Kurt Valenti will be doing his Broncos show Wednesday, and I think we're going to see an epic rant on the Broncos show Wednesday night with the defense. So be prepared for that. But let's see, which way do I want to go on my next? All right, I'll give you this one, Paul. Shane Bowen,
Perfect.
ranked 32nd defensive coordinator out of 32 defensive coordinators in the NFL. Unacceptable when you got arguably the best front four in football. So unacceptable. Does he need to be fired immediately? Is it a quick burning question? And, I'm probably going to go on a little rant after you go because I've been holding this in for 2 days.
If it was up to me, absolutely. We've seen him not being able to utilize Abdul Carter last week. For him to play prevent defense with a kid who everybody knows can kick field goals, 60 yards is a chip shot for Aubrey, and the idea that they're going to go into a prevent to just stop them to get to midfield was absolutely ridiculous. In my mind, I would get rid of him immediately. They've got to replace him. Am I shocked that he's 32nd? No. We've had conversations off the air saying that the combination of our OC, our DC, and our head coach are the worst in the NFL. So, no, he's out of here if I had anything to do with it. Believe me.
My petition's got about 30 signatures already, so I'm starting a petition. Get him out. Seriously. Like you just said, prevent defense when you know this guy can kick 60-yard field goals in his sleep that the Cowboy kicker has. Plus, you lose Darius Musow to a concussion. So you got a guy who was on the practice squad last year playing meaningful minutes in the middle of the field. And that's the defense you play with 28 seconds instead of putting pressure on on Dak Prescott. When the front four and the Cowboys offensive line is one of the better offensive lines in football, and this front four was getting to Dak Prescott almost probably 50 to 60% of the game. 28 seconds left, and you let him get into field goal range, and it's just unacceptable. This guy's scheme is not working. I want to shout out Marshall Green on Giants Chat Now YouTube. Go check out that channel. I'm going to invite him on our show one day if I can get his information and find him on media. I'm going to have to send him an X invite on X. He said it best. Good coaches, great coaches, adapt to their players' strengths. And bad coaches are stuck on their schemes. And this guy's stuck on his scheme, wants to play Abdul Carter at linebacker, play a bend, not break defense. And what happens? You let the Cowboys go in 28 seconds after Russell Wilson's Hall of Fame performance, ruined because of this guy's incompetent play calling on defense and leaving the field wide open. Not just to prevent defense, that Dak Prescott run that got him in overtime. It was like the parting of the Red Seas. I sat in my living room and I said, Dak's going to run up the middle. And what did Dak do? He ran up the middle for 20 something yards, got him in field goal range, an extra point for Aubrey, 46 yards. Game over. Way 978, way to lose.
Yeah. Well said, Kenny.
And
Well
anyway, so
said.
he does have to go, and I know we're flip flopping all over the place here, but that's the way this show's going to go. So you want to talk about the beginning of the game, you want to talk about the end of the game, you want to talk about something that doesn't even mean, on the plane ride home. But we're on coaches. I might as well go right to it. How hot is Brian Dable's seat after 2 games?
I had to take a deep sip of my tea. Right now, Brian Dable's the only tush that's getting pushed is not only in Philadelphia, but his tush might be getting pushed right out the door. And I'll go on a little rant now. You open the season and you don't have your team ready for the opening game for the 3rd straight year, to be totally embarrassed after coming off of a pretty successful preseason. And this is how you open up and they play like that against the Commanders. And then you play a Cowboy team that maybe they took us a little lightly, but the undisciplinedness of the team. 21 penalties that were called against the Giants, 14 were accepted, 160 yards in penalty minutes, in penalties, penalty yards. There was one play the Giants had 3 penalties called on 3 different players at the same time on one play. Fortunately, there was offsetting penalties. You had, and I know we'll get into it in a different question, but you had an offensive lineman who committed 4 penalties in one drive. How is that possible? The sloppiness, the inability to have your team prepared falls squarely on the head coach. And this reminds me, you talked about Groundhog Day earlier when we first came on. This reminds me of, I'll use another yogiism, deja vu all over again, of the Joe Judge regime, where the Giants didn't seem prepared to play games, whether it was offense, defense, or special teams. And yesterday, for them to commit that many penalties is an outrageous sin against a guy like Dable, who right now he's really skirting on thin ice.
I agree, and that those 2 questions that we had in the burning questions, and who should be held accountable for the lack of discipline. We both agreed it's the head coach on top of it, and just the numerous mistakes, and Dable came out at halftime and said we're going to be aggressive. Well, that's one thing about being aggressive. I like aggressiveness, but stupid penalties is not aggressiveness. And half of those penalties, and I'm going to get into one of the guys in a second, half of those penalties were not because of aggressiveness. So that's a lack of discipline. 14 penalties, and we're still in the game, but our incompetent coaching staff lost that game for us. Not the defense, not the offense, not the special teams, not the fans, not the media. Brian Dable and his coaching staff lost that game. And I'll even say Mike Kafka involved in that too, because there should have been the dumbest play call in overtime. All you need is a field goal, and you're throwing a moon ball up for grabs instead of trying to, get 5 yards here, 7 yards there, and ending the game with a 45, 50-yard field goal. So the whole coaching staff accountable for this loss, but lack of discipline, Brian Dable, 1,000%.
Totally agree,
1,000%.
Kenny. Well said.
We're having some technical difficulties getting Mark on, so I apologize, Mark. I'll look into the problem, and we'll talk after the show. We'll get you on maybe next week if you can't get on. So I will ask some burning questions now in the beginning of the show, Paul, and I
Yeah.
filled you in, so you are well aware of what some of the stuff that went on, and
Hmm.
if you're not aware, Andrew Thomas out with an injury week 2. If that's not bad enough, the guy who replaces him, James Hudson, swing swing tackle that Joe Shane brought in, for a backup, paid him I think 6 million. Good money for a backup tackle. Those who don't know James Hudson, he blocked Azeezul Ajari in the bowl game when they were at Cincinnati versus Georgia. Did a heck of a job and then got hurt, and Ujari went off after that. Anyway, James Hudson, who I not praise, but I gave him some credit playing well last week out of all the linemen, really made me put my foot in my mouth because he did not have on one drive, first drive of the game, one penalty. He didn't have 2 penalties. He didn't have 3 penalties. He had 4 penalties on one drive. And if that's not bad enough, your false start you can accept. He had 2 false start penalties. You accept that. But what I don't accept, and there's the lack of discipline that Paul was just talking about, is the 2 unsportsmanlike personal fouls that this guy did. And one of them was Wandale Robinson's deep pass to the 2 or 3 yard line that uh, James Hudson lands on the guy and then pushes his helmet into the ground, pushes his head into the ground, right in front of the ref, yellow flag. That's not bad enough. Paul said it, and I'm going to let Paul take over in a second. Paul said, Paul's only a couple years older than me, not many. He's only 2 years older than me. But in those two
Thanks, Kenny.
years, he said he never seen, and I never seen it neither, but Paul never seen an offensive lineman take a wild swing like he was a boxer in the middle of the field during an important drive for the Giants. And then, so 4 penalties on this guy. On top of that all, Brian Dable, Greg Olson says Brian Dable was overruled, taking him out of the game. I want to know if it was Mike Kafka, Carmen Brasillo, etc. Who overrules the head coach, 1, and 2, why the hell would you leave him in? So my first burning question, Paul, should we be releasing James Hudson today?
Oh, I would have released him. I wouldn't have let him get on the plane coming back to New York from Dallas. Absolutely, I would have left his butt in Texas. Yeah, there's no question in my mind. You can't commit 4 penalties like that and then go absolutely. I'll clean it up. Absolutely bonkers on the sidelines with your head coach trying to calm you down and expect to be playing for this organization. I'm sorry. If we don't have backups to play, then something is Joe Shane needs to go as well. But the fact that they brought this guy in and this is how he responds, yeah, is he aggressive? Is he a competitor? But to put himself ahead of the team, because that's what he did in that situation. You're not thinking about the team at all. And you know what? I'm all about team. I'm all about there's as they say, there's no I in team. Sounds cliche-ish, but it's so true. All you're thinking about is yourself. And for that, I don't want this guy on my team. Get him the hell out of here.
I'm 100% with you, Paul. I said yesterday to myself, I said I'd call an Uber for this guy to the airport and get him out. Don't even put him on the team plane. I don't even want him there. That's like you said. You put it in great words. Team first, and he didn't put the team first. And to me, that's not a team player. I don't want him on the team. Couple hellos, Paul. We got Roy Osborne saying hi, Kenny and Paul. Giants
Hey,
reminded
Roy.
me of the Broncos yesterday. Terrible. And Mark saying hello, Mark. We'll figure out what's going on. We'll get you on. We got a big game next week,
Hey,
Sunday
Mark.
night. Maybe we can get you on. Maybe we'll do maybe do some kind of preview show Sunday, maybe before the Chiefs game. That'd be fun. Maybe we could do something like that if you're interested. And Roy's saying Cowboys will pick Hudson up. LOL. Let him.
Yeah.
Let him. He's one guy I don't want. It wasn't all bad yesterday, Paul. The offense looked good. Defense on plays looked good. One promising, burning question for you. And this one's promising, and I am very happy about this. Our 5th round draft pick, Marcus Bowe, offensive lineman, brought in from Purdue. They benched Hudson after those 4 penalties. The next drive, Marcus Bowe comes in, and Marcus Bowe held his own. And I'm going to say he played better than above average, I'm going to say, and better than a couple of our starting linemen on the team. A couple of our interior linemen. I think he played better at left tackle and protected Russell Wilson very well yesterday. And I think my burning question to you is Andrew Thomas, if he's out, this Marcus Bowe, I think we're both in agreement, is going to be starting at left tackle if Andrew Thomas can't go. But my burning question for you is if Andrew Thomas is back, should Marcus Bowe be starting somewhere on this offensive line?
The short answer is yes. Let me read this. I look at every week. On Monday it comes out. They rank the I guess every player in every game. Let me just read these. Hudson, we talked enough about him. He had a rating percentage of 17.2 out of 100. That was his rating. But Greg Van Roten, right guard, 51.7. John Michael Schmidt at center, 43.6. We saw what happened opening day. Obviously, they played a little better yesterday, but my response to you, as does Marcus Bowe play? Absolutely. If Andrew Thomas hopefully comes back and he's going to go right into left tackle, I would start rearranging the offensive line after seeing these kinds of ratings and get him, whether it's put him at right tackle, move Illuminor inside, maybe move Van Roten to center and take Schmitz out, who's having all sorts of difficulties. I know it's messing up the whole offensive line and the cohesion that they may have, but you know what? It can't be any worse than the way they're playing right now. So the short, long answer is Marcus Bowe is going to be one of my 5 starters somewhere on the offensive line next Sunday night against the Chiefs.
I'm with you. He's got to be somewhere. I don't care where. He's got to play. And Mark put in good words here. He looked good at the end. The last play when Russ threw the interception, he got bull rushed. But overall, other than that, he looked great. Yeah, I'll take that over because it shouldn't have even gone to overtime. The game shouldn't have even gone to that length. So I will take that one play over 4 in one drive. So couple hellos. Eddie Murphy saying hello.
Hey,
I
Eddie.
don't know what's worse, losing to the Cowboys or seeing Daniel Jones start 2-0. And good friend of mine, Sharon, saying, "Hey guys, tough loss yesterday. So happy that the Chiefs are 2-0, 0-2 now. I want to shout out, congratulations. Sharon's a Bills fan. Her dad's a big Bills fan, and they got to go to the game yesterday.
Nice.
Sharon's dad took the nephew, and they had one heck of a performance and off to a hot start. So good luck out there, and thank you for listening, Sharon. It was definitely a tough loss for sure. Let's see what other ones I got for you, Paul. Since we're on offense, I got a quick one for you. You gave me this one today. Are we ever going to see a Jalen Hyatt sighting again? Burning question. Where has he been? 0 snaps, you told me, in this game.
Yeah.
Why?
I'll tell you, Kenny, it just, I'm just so frustrated, angry, disappointed. For those of you who may not remember, the Giants traded up to draft this guy in the third round. He came out of college, big playmaker. This was the guy that would add downfield ability, deep threat. Yesterday, they dressed 46 guys. He was the only guy that got 0 snaps. I just don't understand what is going on with him. I'm not sure. I mentioned to Kenny off the air if Joe Shane was in love with this guy and Brian Dable not so much, so he's not playing him, and the two of them are clashing, and he's not going to play him. But the guy is fast. At worst, use him as a kick returner. The percentage of kicks now are going up to 77, almost 80%. Use him as a kick returner. He gets into that. He can get through that crease. He's gone. No one's going to catch this guy. So if you're not going to use him as a receiver, somehow utilize his speed in some other measure. And I just, for the life of me, can't figure out why they are not using this guy in some form or another. It's just puzzling to me that he has not seen the field.
100% agree with you. And if you're not going to use this guy, maybe you could have gotten a late round pick for him, and traded him and just maybe, you know, put little Jordan Humphrey on the roster or Smith Marset and let Gunnar Olszewski be the backup slot receiver. It just doesn't make sense for me. There's so many things you could do with Jalen Hyatt. Put him in the lineup with Malik Neighbors and Darius Slayton on the other side. You can move Malik Neighbors inside with Wan'Dale Robinson and have 2 slots, 4 wide set. There's so much stuff you can do. There's got to be something behind closed doors that we're not hearing, but and maybe they're afraid to not suit them up, and lose them. But he's not doing anything to the team by just being a cheerleader. I know the Giants don't have cheerleaders, but maybe he is a cheerleader. Just saying. It's what it's starting to seem like, and I don't think he's ever going to get a chance, unfortunately, with the Giants. The way
Maybe
things
he
are
has
going.
Maybe he has naked pictures of Brian Dable.
Yeah, there you go. And just an update. They had a great. Sharon saying they had a great time at the game. Dad wore a Flutie. Dad wore the Flutie Flakes T-shirt. Awesome pic he sent with my nephew. So nice, awesome stuff. We went to a game many years ago up in Buffalo. It was a nice experience, and you were there a few weeks for the preseason. And I told
Yeah.
Sharon your
Good,
experience there.
good Buffalo Mafia fans, that's for
Yep.
sure.
Yep.
Loyal.
Mark saying it's very sad he is not playing. Maybe play calling. He doesn't understand the playbook. But that's that could be. But if you don't understand the playbook, then maybe it's time to find another profession. Let's just say.
But you know what? Let me respond to Mark. Mark, I'm not sure, but off the year, Kenny and I were talking about that, and if the Giants did their due diligence in terms of vetting who he was when he was coming out of college, they would have had to have spoken to the coaches, the staff, just going through every bit of his background. So that's something that you're going to hear from whether it's a scout or somebody affiliated with Tennessee to a certain extent. And if his inability to understand the playbook, that should have come out, and they never should have drafted him then.
You're right. You're right. Let's want to say goodbye to Eddie Murphy. He's driving, so he's going to be saying
okay.
goodbye. We
Take
want to
care,
say
Eddie.
hi. And before I forget, he said Dexter, Kayvon Thibodeau, Burns, and Carter only played 8 out of 65 snaps together. That's under 13%.
That was yesterday
That's what he's
or
saying.
open.
That's what sounded like opening day, but I got to look yesterday too. And
Right.
I did see Burns on the sidelines at times. I saw Thibodeau on the sidelines. I got to look into that. If that's
Yeah.
accurate, let me tell you something. If I cut myself and I put my blood in this cup right here, it'd be boiling. with Shane Bowen. That's how hot my blood is right now with this guy, if that's the case, because this is
Yeah, I
getting
mean,
ridiculous now. And
I,
scheme is not working. Not working.
yeah, I mean, those sound like statistics from opening game, but
He's
after
saying
that
yesterday.
happened, wow, I've got to, if I
I got to
see
go
that,
back and look, Eddie. And if you're right,
yeah,
thank you for that info. I
right,
just maybe we didn't realize because we were competitive and we weren't looking for that maybe yesterday because we were competitive. But it makes sense. Elijah Garcia got a sack in overtime. I did see Davidson in the game on plays. I saw Golston in on certain plays. So he may be on to something there, Eddie. So I'm going to look into that and definitely, Eddie, I trust you and believe you. It's just mind-boggling if he did that again
yeah,
2 weeks in a row.
really.
The scheme master, I'm going to call this guy, and it's not working. It's not working. If you want to, blood's boiling. Blood is boiling, Paul. I got one more on
Shaking my,
offense for you,
okay,
and then we can see where else we want to go. You got some time, before we get into the upcoming game against the Chiefs. Should we elevate Dante Miller to the 53-man roster? We saw Cam Scatterboo, nice runs. We saw Tyrone Tracy, but they only had 65 yards total. The third guy, Devin Singletary, one reception in overtime, -4 yards. And why are you putting him in overtime when these other two guys are being your playmakers and creating plays? And we know what Scatterboo can do blocking. And Tracy, he's a wide receiver converted running back. And you got Devin Singletary in. Devin Singletary is a guy that's going to get you 4 or 5 yards. He's not going to be the explosive guy that's going to break things down the field. Why is he in overtime? One reception, -4 yards. Is it time to elevate Dante Miller? May use him as our third string guy and maybe put him back on kickoffs. And with his speed, might be able to break something. Just saying.
yeah.
I say yes. Time to move on from Devin Singletary. Scatterboo looks good, healthy. Tyrone Tracy, we know what we're going to get from him. And let's see what we can get from Dante Turbo Miller. It's been 2 years now, and they haven't used this guy.
I said this when we broke down our rosters, 53-man roster, when we selected our by positions, and I had Miller on my roster and didn't have Devin Singletary. And I know it was a young backfield with the rookie and the second-year guy, but my attitude is, you know what? You can't make up talent. And the fact is that this guy has maybe the best speed out of anybody on the team, much less the backfield. So you put this guy on, like you just said, and I 100% agree. Let him return kicks, let him return punts, put him in the backfield where maybe they can use him on screens like they did in the preseason, but get this guy out in space and let him have his explosiveness and utilize that. It's almost like they're afraid to go to these kinds of plays that the uh, uh, Jalen Hyatt's and this guy. I mean, add that speed factor to this team, and their offense could explode every week. Who you're covering, it's just very frustrating to not realize you have guys that can make that can be playmakers, and Miller proved that he could be a playmaker in this league.
Yeah. And Mark's got a good point, too. He's saying put Hyatt back there with Turbo on kickoffs. Have two
Yeah, that's
speed
what I
guys back
said
there. You
earlier.
just said it, yep. And Turbo Miller, we saw what he could do if he hits the edge. And Roy's got one here, Paul, and I want your opinion on this. This is a good one. Uh, People are on the blame game that the game was on Russ. I don't believe it. Yes, he had his moments, but there was way more to the game than his moments.
If they're looking at the interception, I think you said it well. Uh, why did they call a play like that when with 3 minutes left? That's the only reason he threw that interception, looking for Neighbors to make a play. But the reality is, the way they drew up the coaching in the overtime, they should have just methodically went down the field and, like you said, kick the field goal, set them up to kick a field goal with no time left. Uh, Russ had one of the best games of his career yesterday. There's absolutely no reason you would blame him for losing that game. Absolutely none.
Right. And people who are blaming him are ridiculous. Your team put up 37 points. Were you blaming Russ when Neighbors caught the deep pass, 2 deep touchdowns, and one with 28 seconds left in the game? Were you blaming Russ then when we thought you were going to win the game? Because we all thought we were going to win that game. Were we blaming Russ then? Were we blaming Russ when Wan'Dale Robinson caught his 2 deep passes and had his game of his career? You think Wan'Dale Robinson's blaming Russell Wilson? 8 catches, 142 yards, and a touchdown? I don't think so. So people need to wake up and point the finger somewhere else, because Russell Wilson can still play in this NFL. And, it didn't work with the Broncos. Russell Wilson got off to a hot start with the Steelers last year. And you know what? Then it slowed down. Well, you know what? We saw Aaron Rodgers struggle yesterday a little bit. So maybe it's not Russell Wilson, everybody. So wake up. Okay? I think Russell Wilson's still got a couple good years in him. And I'm glad he's on the Giants. Even though we're 0-2, I'm glad he was on the Giants, because I was very excited throughout that game yesterday. It was not a boring game at all, and that was because of Russell Wilson, the plays he was making. Paul gave you the numbers earlier, with a terrible offensive line. That's all I'm going to say. So for those that feel that way, I don't know what to tell you. But Mark was saying the defense played a lot of minutes with the prevent, doesn't work. Can't play 20 yards off the ball. Horrible. Exactly. And Eddie's saying, Neighbors did a corner route. Russ threw a post route.
Yeah.
I wonder if it was a mix-up. It could have been a mix-up, but Mark alluded that Marcus Bowe got bull rushed on that, so there was pressure on Russ. He had to throw the ball early. But here's a question off topic, Paul, off our agenda, but it had to do with the game. Game went into overtime. Do you agree or disagree? Now, there's a new rule. People who don't know, each team's going to get a chance for one possession. But my question is, you win the toss. Are you going on defense? Because how much time do you have to score? Like how does that work? I don't know. You got 10 minutes on the clock. What happens if the Giants get the ball with 2 minutes left? They only have 2 minutes left to score. I disagree with it, Paul. I think they should have went on offense first and put the Cowboys in a hole. If we score, put the Cowboys in the hole that they got to score faster and they can't have a long drive. I would have taken the ball. I would have taken the ball.
Okay, I hear what you're saying. I agree with what the Giants did. Almost like what they do in college football in overtime. Most of the time in college football, they'll if they win the toss, they'll go on defense. I want to see what the other team produces or doesn't produce to know I only need a field goal, or I need the touchdown to win the game. So if the Cowboys they went 3 and out, or they had a punt. All right, now all I need is a field goal to win the game, as opposed to maybe not scoring a touchdown and kicking a field goal. Of course, it puts the pressure on the Cowboys to then win the game with the touchdown. But I think I'd rather have the pressure knowing I needed to score a touchdown as opposed to anything else if the other team scored first, had the ball first, I should say.
Right, I understand what you're saying, but there is only 10 minutes on the clock. Do they get one possession, or if the time runs out, you have the extra time to score?
Yeah, I don't know.
Because if you have the extra time to score, I'm with you. But if you don't, a team can run the clock out and you only have a minute or two to get the tying field goal or touchdown.
Oh,
That's why
absolutely.
I need. I'm gonna look it up. That's why I'm on the fence with it.
Yeah.
If you only get one possession and time goes out, you're done. You may only have. Look at the Giants' first drive yesterday. It was almost 8 minutes.
Yeah.
The
Hmm.
Cowboys. It didn't happen, but if the Cowboys run the ball and move the chains, move the chains, move the chains, you got 3 minutes left on the clock. That's a disadvantage to your offense. So
Oh,
I'd look into
absolutely. I
it
mean,
and see what happens. See if that's the
I
rule or if there's no time expired after the
yeah. I
10
mean, I
minutes.
guess, it's up to the defense then. If you're going to go on defense first, you got to stop them sooner than later, I guess. And that
Yeah.
puts the onus on and the pressure on the defense if you do uh, decide to kick off.
Well, here's Roy. Roy's got a great one, and then we'll get into the Chiefs game because Sharon was asking how do we feel about the Chiefs game coming up. Uh, Depends on how your defense is playing at the present time. Well, Roy, we played terrible in the fourth quarter, and to add fuel to the fire, 64-yard field goal. Defense gave up the 64-yard field goal, and you put them right back on the field. Again, they didn't score, but you're putting them right back on the field after that momentum that the Cowboys had. I wouldn't have given them momentum. I would have went on offense in that situation, but it didn't hurt. So, but it very well could have because your defense just gave up a quick one, 64-yard field goal. They could have won the game, so they're a little depleted, but at the time we got lucky, but we ended up still losing the game, but it got away with it, and the game almost ended in a tie. So, we'll see. But we'll see how it goes going forward. If a lot of teams take the ball first, or if they give it to the defense. I think that was probably the first game that made it to overtime with the new rule. I don't think there was any overtime games last week.
No. You asked me a question about being competitive and losing, or would you
Oh
rather?
yeah, we'll do one more. I'll do one more
Th-
question, and then we'll
that
get
was a
into the
very
Chiefs
good
game.
question, and I wanted to discuss
Yeah,
that as
I,
well.
I want. I do have that one. So the question is, Uh, would you are you okay with a giant loss yesterday, the way we lost after week one, not being competitive? You said it earlier in the show, flat week one. Every chance in the world to win yesterday, but we lost. Competitive, competitive loss. Are you okay with that? And losing like that going forward week after week against our rival teams and tough teams, or are you not okay? You want to start winning, hands down. You want to start winning.
We've lost so much, and I appreciate the fact that the game was competitive, and we said that off the air. At least let's see a competitive game. But who doesn't want to win the damn game? To echo the famous Herman Edwards line, you play to win the game. And I don't care how competitive they were. I wanted to win the damn game. When Malik Neighbors caught that long pass from Russell Wilson, I'm thinking, oh my God, we're going to finally get a damn win. So, no, I'm not happy that they played a competitive game because they lost. I want to win every single game that we play. And I don't think any of us who have played sports competitively ever want to. There's no participation trophies in the NFL, is the best way I can put it. There's no participation. Everyone is not getting a little ribbon. You either win or you lose. Simple as that.
A lot of no's as well, and I'm with you. I'm with you, but I'm gonna throw a little asterisk out there. My asterisk is we were competitive. We should have won the game. If we get a competent coaching staff on this New York Giants team with our defensive front, with our secondary, our linebackers, we get a good defensive coordinator, we get a head coach who, doesn't allow players to be arguing. First week one, he's arguing with Malik Neighbors on the sideline. Week two, it's James Hudson. Who's it going to be Sunday night? Is it going to be Russell Wilson? Who's he going to argue with Sunday night? Future's bright. The coach and staff needs to go. good coaching staff, competent coaching staff, and this Giants team is going to be turned around. So there's my asterisk. If we're competitive with this coaching staff, give me a good coaching staff, and we're going to surprise the NFL. That's my hot take on Monday night. You give me a good coaching staff, a veteran coaching staff. This team's going to go places very with this roster.
I like it.
Mark say, yep, Mark's a sore Mark's a horrible sore loser. Well, we all are when we play the damn Cowboys because they think they're going to the Super Bowl now because they won a game in that fashion. You gave up 37 points to a Giants offense that couldn't score on the Commanders' offense in Week 1. So wake up, Cowboy fans. You're not going very far this year. Our good friend Clayton saying hello, Paul. And
Hey, Clayton.
Smash that like button. Yeah, give us a like on YouTube if you're on YouTube. It helps the stream out, totally free. Helps us out. If you like what you're seeing, give us a like on Facebook. It definitely helps us out and gets us noticed and brings more Giant fans and football fans into the show. So we would appreciate that. Paul, want to get into Sunday's game, the upcoming game against the Chiefs? Sharon asked about it a few minutes ago. So we got to, like Sharon said, both teams are 0-2. How do we win this game, Paul?
Yeah, I mean, when's the last time you could say the Kansas City Chiefs have been 0-2 with Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, a quarterback? Giants have been there. This is nothing unusual. Unfortunately, the Giants have to play them on Sunday night with the Chiefs already. Their backs are against the wall in a very, very competitive AFC West division. They've got to continue doing. I think the number one thing is you've got to put pressure on Patrick Mahomes. Patrick isn't as nimble as he used to be, and their running game has been almost non-existent. So they're going to rely a lot on passing on Sunday night, which means the front four, hopefully Carter plays a lot more than 8 plays with Burns and Dexter and Kayvon, but they've got to continue to put pressure on Kansas City, force Mahomes into some mistakes, and perhaps they can come away in a close game. I think the best thing for the Giants to do in a game like this, try and keep it close, at least through 3 quarters, and maybe they can get a break here and there. The defense, as Kurt always says, they're not that good. All respect to Chris Jones, one of the best interior defensive linemen in the NFL, but I think the Giants' offense can make some plays as well. So let's keep it close, put pressure on Mahomes, and hopefully we can come away with a close win.
Sharon's saying, I think it was 2016 when the Chiefs were last 0-2 to start the season. So 0-3 could be in the wings. I got to give Kurt Valenti, our co-host on K&K Sports. He said he'd be trying to chime in late. He's working tonight, but he said it best, and I think he's right. The Chiefs are getting old. Not only are they getting old, I said they got this distraction with Taylor Swift. They're engaged now. It's Swift and Kelsey. It's Xavier Worthy got injured in Week 1, and he called Travis Kelsey out. Pay attention to stop, run the right routes and stop paying attention to your girlfriend in the stands. And so he got hurt, and he's out for a period of time. Xavier Worthy, the speedster. You nailed it. No running game. The running game looks pretty poor for the Chiefs. Travis Kelsey is playing like a 40-year-old tight end instead of a 30-year-old tight end. Well, 34, 35. He's playing his age. This team is looking old. The offensive line's not great. It's average to slightly below average, in my opinion. Now, so the defense, I expect the Giants to get pressure on him unless our incompetent coach decides to keep Abdul Carter on the bench, Burns on the bench, and this and that. Mahomes is gonna make plays. You know, our coordinator, somebody needs to step up, whether it's Brian Dable or somebody, you know, Joe Shane, somebody change your scheme. We need to pressure Patrick Mahomes on defense. On the offensive side of the ball, got to worry about Chris Jones. Chris Jones, Karlaftis are two good edge rusher, and the arguably Dexter Lawrence, Chris Jones, they're going to face off against each other, the best two in football. John Michael Smith is struggling. Maybe this is the week you move Marcus Bowe inside and get him some help. I don't know. You're going to have to double team Chris Jones. But I think, Paul, I don't know what it is. You call me crazy. I'm going to give you a wild prediction. The Giants defense gets a safety in this game. One. Two, Gunnar Olszewski gets a huge kickoff or a punt return. Not saying it's going to be for a touchdown, but it's going to be a heck of a return. A touchdown or almost a touchdown. And Russell Wilson's going to have another great performance, 300-ish yards. Run game's going to be good. The Giants pull off the upset of the year. And I'm calling it the upset of the year. The Chiefs are 0-2 as well, but it's still an upset because you're facing the AFC champs. And I'm going to go a wild Sunday night score, 25-23 Giants.
Interesting. Very interesting.
Thousand ways to lose. I got to give us a million and one way to win.
Okay.
Safety will do it.
I know the first spread came out. I think the Chiefs were a 6-point favorite, if I read that correctly. So, as much as it pains me, I keep saying when you're playing the Chiefs and Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes is still the quarterback, until the Giants prove that they can win games, especially against good teams, I'm going with the Chiefs winning. Let's say 27-17. The Giants will move the ball a little bit, but I think ultimately they'll wind up losing, and the Chiefs will come away with their first win of the year.
Nice. We got Sharon rooting for the Giants, and right on cue, we just talked about Kurt Valenti. He's coming in. He's at work. Spoiler: Giants beat Kansas City Sunday night. Kansas City is cooked.
Well, let's hope he's right. Let's
I
hope
I
Kurt is right.
I just my other reasons, Paul. I mean, hands down, you know John Mara personally. If I'm John Mara, if I'm anybody in the ownership, if this Giants team comes out and has another 10 plus penalties in this game, Dable's gone because that's 2 weeks in a row, no discipline on this team. So I'm expecting a well disciplined game, and I'm expecting pressure on Patrick Mahomes. And that's why I agree with Kurt. I think the Giants' home opener, another factor, gets the Giants finally come home after 2 tough weeks and get a national televised game. Russell Wilson, very well in the spotlight. Many ways that I think this Giants pull this win off.
I hope you're
David
right. Let me
Burns.
look.
David Burns, what a game both Giants and Cowboys had. Giants and Cowboys had what a game, he's saying.
Let me ask you a question. Home opener. How long before the fans start to boo if the Giants don't play well?
I think you're going to see the Giants boo on defense because we're very smart fans. We're very impatient fans, but the Giant fans are very smart too. And they see what's going on. We couldn't stop Dallas with 25 seconds with our front four because we're in a prevent defense. Mark saw it. Everybody saw it who's out there. You and I saw it. Eddie Murphy saw it. All the Giant fans saw it. If this defense comes out flat and Mahomes gets, a touchdown early, the Giants defense is going to get booed. I don't think it's going to take much with Russell Wilson's performance and Cam Scatterboo's excitement and Malik Neighbors, of course. I don't think the fans are going to boo the offense very quick. They're not going to call for Russell Wilson's name, Russell Wilson to be benched. I think the offense is going to be, safe, and the fans aren't going to boo the offense. The defense, on the other hand, they better make some plays early in this game, or they'll be the group that gets booed.
Okay. Let's see what happens.
All right. Want to give me your final thoughts, Paul? It's been, a fun show. A lot of interaction. We're gonna have one of these victory parties one of these weeks, but hopefully I'm right and you're wrong with your prediction. And
I hope you're right. I'm trying to be real. Show me something, Giants, this week. Let's come up with win number one. Great show, Kenny, as usual. Great questions. Those burning questions are burning a hole. Thank goodness I'm not a better, or else it'd be a burning a hole in my pocket. But let's see what happens this week. Sunday Night Football. Everybody will be watching. Hopefully, they can come out and play up to the standards that we need for a Giants victory.
yeah, and you know what, Paul? I want to get some thank yous in a second, but the Cowboys, they don't, the future's bright for the Giants. We just got to fix the problem, and the problem is that up at the top, your head coach. It starts with that. But the future's bright. Our rookies are looking good. They're performing. Our second year guys, Malik Neighbors, is looking good. Future could be bright. Cowboys look like they're going in a poor direction on defense. They not looking good. And Jaden Daniels banged up, questionable for Sunday. They lost Austin Eckler for the year. They're dealing with some injuries over there. Giants, get on the win column, and maybe we can gain momentum off of that. Let's get to 1-2, and maybe we can look at maybe a few wins this year and maybe not be in the cellar. So that being said, I want to thank everybody. A lot of interaction, a lot of Giants fans, a lot of fans from the NFL. Appreciate anybody coming in. All are welcome anytime. Until next week, we may do a Sunday pregame show and then a Monday recap show as well. We'll notify everybody and let you know what the schedule looks like next week. Until then,